So let's talk about the kids that maybe aren't in such dire straits in the NICU. Like there are other babies that are coming in and out of the hospital, and and I guess just the general population as well. Like you and I, if we're unfortunately in the hospital for whatever it is, the food that is available, and this is not unique to us here in Vancouver or in BC as a whole. This is, I think, from my exposure to any hospital, is like the food seems to be pretty uninspired and pretty lacking. What is your opinion on why that is the case? Is it a financial thing? Is it an economics thing? Is it a time? What is it that lacks in seemingly the environment where you would want to have the most nutritious and well thought out meal, especially someone as a dietitian? Yeah. What is that? Why does it exist, and how much of a struggle is that for you and what you're trying to do day in and day out?
I think that's an excellent question, because coming from a patient's perspective, and also now that I am running a business as well, I get to kind of see both, where as patients, we want something delicious or something tasty and appealing, which in a hospital setting, in a business setting, which yes, hospital is a business, right?
Yeah.
It's definitely a challenge, because they have to look at food safety, where certain foods need to be heated at certain temperatures, just to make sure that what patients that are immunocompromised are getting the best or the most
the safest.
Exactly. And so they have to balance that in addition to budget. And so in our healthcare system, unfortunately, we're definitely kind of pushed to a bit of a thinness in terms of being able to provide like funding for certain areas in healthcare. So they have to contract this with like large companies like Sodexo or Morrison. And so I think it's definitely a big business, but they are striving hard to incorporate sustainability and also local like produce as well. I know Sodexo I'm not like sponsored by Sodexo or anything, but they do have programs, and they're trying to bring in more and more of this.
Right.
And I think it's also part of their mandate as a large company as well.
Yeah, I think we're seeing things with food, like even look at what Walmart's done in the past like 10 years and how they've pivoted their model a bit, and they now have organic availability with some of their produce. So it's basically whatever we as the society starts to demand, they start to pivot. It's just shocking to me that, again, like I said, in an environment where you would think that the most important thing above anything else would be when you do eat what you are eating in a hospital environment. But I hear what you're saying. There are many other variables, not even just the economics of it, other variables that you have to consider, things like food safety.
Exactly.
So you can't just go whip up a soup and serve it to someone. We
can't serve up like a cebayon or something like that, right? With raw eggs. Just because we're just a lot more strict in terms of food safety.
Right.
But in terms of appeal and like the flavors, there's definitely room for that. If we were to compare it to like Japan, if you were to compare the hospital food in Japan versus our hospital food, there's definitely a big difference.
Oh, yeah?
There's a lot more effort put into Japanese cuisine, and that also shows in like their hospital setting as well.
So yeah,
it's interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. Do you think in our time, I don't know how old you are, I shouldn't ask, but I'm 37, so I'm giving myself another 50 years ideally on this planet. Do you think in the next 50 years we'll see some change here in Canada with things like the food system inside of hospitals?
I think so. I think like more and more like patients and people just in general are requesting for it. And I think hospitals are wanting to do that as well. And that's why they put in certain mandates for these contract companies like Sodexo and Morrison to put in like less food waste or certain percentage of food waste for hospitals and incorporating like sustainability and local products in their food, which is great for the economy.
Yeah.
As well.
So there is change coming. Or if it isn't already, it's already happening.
It's in the works, but I think, it's definitely like a 5-year, 10-year plan that they have working.
I feel like I'd be remiss not to take advantage of the fact that you're